In July of 1958, the New York Times published a headline that read like something out of a science fiction novel. It reported that the U.S. Navy had revealed the embryo of an electronic computer that it expected would be able to walk, talk, see, write, reproduce itself, and be conscious of its existence. They weren't talking about some far-off future. They were talking about a machine that already existed. A machine that was the direct ancestor of ChatGPT and every AI tool we use today. It was called the Perceptron. But then, almost as quickly as it appeared, this technology vanished. It was buried, discredited, and largely forgotten for half a century. Why was the blueprint for our future hidden for so long? Welcome to the MindLoom archive. The man behind the headlines was a Cornell University psychologist named Frank Rosenblatt. He wasn't just building a calculator, he was trying to model the human brain. His creation, the Mark I Perceptron, was a physical behemoth. Imagine a machine the size of a room, filled with a rat's nest of wires connecting hundreds of simulated neurons. Rosenblatt's brilliant insight was to design these artificial neurons to learn from experience, just like biological ones. They weren't programmed with rules, they were trained. The Mark I had a single eye, an array of 400 light sensors. You could show it a card with the letter A on it, and if it guessed wrong, you'd send an error signal back through the system, adjusting the strength of the connections. Over time, the Perceptron learned to correctly identify shapes. It was the world's first true neural network. The hype was astronomical. Rosenblatt believed this was just the beginning. The media, fueled by the Navy's optimism, painted a picture of a near future filled with conscious machines. But while Rosenblatt was teaching machines to see, another pioneer was teaching them to talk. Jump forward to 1966 at MIT. Joseph Weizenbaum, a computer scientist. ELIZA was the world's first chatbot. Its most famous script mimicked a Rogerian psychotherapist. It didn't understand a word you were saying. It simply looked for key words in your sentences and reflected them back to you in the form of a question. It was a parlor trick, a clever piece of programming. But the reaction to it shocked Weizenbaum. People loved talking to ELIZA. They would spend hours typing out their deepest secrets to this simple program, treating it as if it were a real, empathetic human being. This phenomenon became known as the ELIZA effect, our tendency to project human intelligence and emotion onto machines, even when we know they are just code. In the mid-1960s, it seemed like the age of AI had arrived. We had machines that could learn to see and programs that could hold a conversation. So, what happened? In 1969, two other MIT giants, Marvin Minsky and Seymour Papert, published a book titled simply Perceptrons. It was a rigorous mathematical analysis of Rosenblatt's work, and its conclusion was devastating. They proved that single-layer networks like Rosenblatt's Mark I had fundamental limitations. There were simple logical problems they could never solve, no matter how long you trained them. While Minsky and Papert knew that multi-layer networks could theoretically solve these problems, they argued there was no way to train them. The book was seen by funding agencies as proof that the neural network path was a dead end. The immense hype came crashing down. Funding dried up. This marked the beginning of what became known as the first AI winter. For the next few decades, the ideas that power today's AI revolution were largely considered a scientific backwater. Rosenblatt tragically died in a boating accident shortly after the book's publication, never seeing his vision vindicated. But the idea didn't die. A small group of researchers kept the flame alive. And as computers became exponentially more powerful, something incredible happened. The math that Rosenblatt, Minsky, and Papert argued over in the 60s hadn't changed. What changed was the engine we could run it on.
Modern deep learning is essentially Rosenblatt's perceptrons stacked in many layers, trained with vast amounts of data on powerful GPUs. We didn't invent a new magic trick, we just finally built the car that the 1960s engineers had designed the engine for. The pioneers of the 1960s left us with more than just blueprints. Joseph Weizenbaum, horrified by how easily people were emotionally manipulated by his ELIZA program, became one of AI's loudest critics. He warned against trusting decisions to machines that could never possess human attributes like compassion or wisdom. 60 years ago, we caught the first glimpse of our artificial future. We saw its incredible potential and its inherent dangers. The question is, now that it's finally here, have we learned the lessons from the past? This is the MindLoom Archive. Subscribe for more deep dives into the history that shapes our future.